So good morning and welcome to the 2020 Southampton Village Veterans Day service. What a difference a year makes. Life is upside down and normalcy is coming. We just don't know when. We gather today for the comfort of a familiar tradition, but we gather too because it is such the proper thing to do, to say thank you to those who have defended America, preserving our freedom and defeating the evil forces of history. On behalf of our committee, Commander Bob Grisnick, Mayor Jesse Warren, and trustees Mark Parrish, Gina Aresta, Joe McLaughlin, Andrew Polero, and Village Justice Barbara Wilson, we thank you for joining us today. And we're happy to have Jim Tartaglia with members of the chorus from Southampton High School with us. And although the band could not be with us, Mike Lauricio, the band leader, has once again had his students play patriotic songs virtually. During the service, a little bit later on, I'm actually going to play one of those particular songs. I just think it's such a great effort for both Jim in these particular times and for Mike to go the extra mile and help us out to celebrate a very special day of the year. If you're interested, you may go to the Southampton High School Facebook page and you will find there the video of the students playing different patriotic songs. You can also go on YouTube to Veterans Day 2020 Southampton High School band presentation, and you will find them there as well. They do themselves proud, and I'm sure that they would appreciate, as well as Mike would appreciate, a look-see and maybe a like to show them that you have actually watched the video. So it was awesome, and we thank them for this fine effort. Way to go. Further, we also would like to thank the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts who are with us today. Can we give them a little bit of a round of applause? And we have also members from the Southampton Fire Department who are here to support us as well today. So we thank them for showing up as well to support this day, but also we want to thank them for their year-long service in protecting our community. What an awesome job they and all of our first responders do for the village and town of Southampton. So we thank you guys very much. We thank the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. We thank the First Presbyterian Church Youth Group and the Patriot Club from Southampton High School and all community members who helped once again place the American flags in our local cemeteries, which we do for each Memorial Day and each Veterans Day. They do it every year, but this is hardly every year, so we give them our thanks. Windy. We'll have the invocation momentarily, but I would just like to tell you just a little bit about Father Lazarakis, a little bit more. You can well imagine the normal, regular duties that he has, at his church. But in addition to that, in addition to his duties at the parish, Father Constantine currently serves on the advisory board of U.S. Autism Homes. And Love Michael, a non-profit granola company devoted to providing meaningful employment and fair compensation to people with intellectual disabilities. He also serves on the Town of Southampton Addiction and Recovery Task Force and on the board of the directors of East End Disabilities Incorporated. Father Constantine enjoys creative writing, reading poetry, and cycling. He lives here in Southampton with his wife, Anastasia, and their 3 children. For our invocation this morning, please welcome Father Lazarakis.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill, and good morning, everyone. Let us pray to the Lord in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. O God and Creator of all things, who loves each of us, who protects the vulnerable, who frees the captives, who is the source of justice, freedom, and healing, we gather today with grateful hearts to give thanks to you for your abundant blessings and to honor the men and women of this and every generation who have served our great nation, advancing justice and preserving liberty. We ask you to bless our veterans who have traversed land, sea, and air, many who have left wives, husbands, parents, and children in response to a higher call, the call to protect and defend the American way of life. Some did not return. While we may never know the extent of their sacrifice, we are the recipients of the blessings their sacrifice has wrought. We thank you, O God, and we thank them. We thank you for moving their hearts and directing their lives towards the service of our nation and the protection of our shores. We ask you, Almighty One, to protect them, to grant them strength, wisdom, and joy, and to reward them abundantly for all they have done in the name of liberty and justice. Amen.
Please remain standing. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing for just a little bit longer. Valerie DiLorenzo is an accomplished professional singer and actress and award-winning New York City cabaret artist for over 25 years. She is a fixture in the East End arts community, performing at all the East End venues, including Guildhall, West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, Southampton Arts Center, the Suffolk Theater, and many more. Valerie is a proud card-carrying member of the Actors Equity Association and has sung the national anthem for the New York Mets, the U.S. Open, and the NBA for over 15 years. She is honored to be here with us today and proudly salutes all the men and women who have served our country in war and peace. Please remain standing. Veterans, please salute, present arms. Please help us welcome Valerie DiLorenzo.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. Thank you all for your service. And please join me in singing our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the palms bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Valerie, thank you so very much. I don't know whether it's just extra special because the day is so beautiful or not, but that was wonderful, and we thank you so much for joining us today. Last Wednesday night, I was at the VFW in Riverhead to accept a $2,000 donation from Long Island ABATE. ABATE stands for the American Bikers for Awareness, Training, and Education. I was receiving that as president of Honor Flight Long Island. Honor Flight Long Island, in case you have not heard, is a program that's been in existence since 2005, whose primary purpose was to take World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. to see their memorial, which had been dedicated in 2004. We came on board in 2007 here on Long Island when we created Honor Flight Long Island. There are about 130 hubs around the country, and recently we added Korean War veterans and Vietnam War veterans to our list, and we will be taking them in the future. Of course, our 2 flights this year in 2020 were canceled, and we do hope that perhaps in May of 2021 we will be able to resume them. If not, we'll do it in September. And we'll keep going until we take every veteran who wishes to go down and have the honor flight experience in Washington, D.C. I've been proud to have been a member since the very beginning, along with our commander, Bob Grisnick, who has been a member of the board of directors and was our longtime treasurer. Over the past, 14 years, I'm proud to say that Honor Flight Long Island has taken over 1,700 veterans to see their memorial on a one-day trip to Washington, D.C. So the Long Island ABATE is a Long Island Motorcycle Association. Each year, it donates funds from several fundraisers that they hold, and they give the money to veteran organizations, and this year, Honor Flight Long Island was one of the recipients. There were a couple of other organizations there that I would like to tell you about. One was called Operation Veronica, which I had never heard of. This organization has been sending packages weekly to our soldiers in the Middle East and Afghanistan and a few other areas around the world for the past 15 years. Here's a description of what they do from their website. Operation Veronica has been supporting our troops from behind our sewing machines since August 6th of 2005. We came to be in response to a need to do something to show our support for the brave men and women serving us in uniform. We learned that the temperatures in Iraq and Afghanistan reached 135 degrees. So a group of us gathered to sew neck coolers. We hoped they would offer some relief from such blistering heat. Our intention was to meet for that one day, and we were mistaken. We continued to meet and grow, but our mission remained the same: show our troops tangible proof that we are grateful for all they are doing for us. An idea that began with a few neck coolers grew to include making polar fleece neck warmers when those temperatures dropped to freezing in the bitter winter months. From that quiet start, we have grown to include all manner of comfort items with our weekly shipments. Last year, we added survival bracelets to our list of homemade items. These are bracelets made from 550 paracord. It gives our troops a convenient way to carry 10 to 15 feet of cord that is able to support 550 pounds. We are told that this cord is used for everything from lashing down equipment to stringing the ridgeline of a tent to simply repairing a bootlace. We pack everything from Oreo cookies to socks and underwear We've even filled a wish list that included glue traps and nail polish. Whatever we are asked for, whatever we have heard may be helpful, and whatever we think may just be nice to have, we send it off. And as I said, they have been doing it for 15 years. Also there to receive a check was Joanne Lyles, mother of Jordan Herder. Jordan was a 20-year-old Marine from Sag Harbor, killed in 2008 along with a fellow Marine while on guard duty at an Iraqi checkpoint. Both soldiers were awarded the Navy Cross, the second highest military award. There is an ongoing effort to have them awarded the Medal of Honor. Very shortly after assuming their posts, Jordan and Corporal Jonathan Yale were confronted with a large truck speeding through the concrete Jersey walls. The truck contained 2,000 pounds of explosive. They held their ground and fired into the truck, killing the driver, but not before the truck exploded, killing them instantly. From General John Kelly's 2010 speech about this attack, 24 brick masonry houses were damaged or destroyed. A mosque 100 yards away collapsed. The truck's engine came to rest 200 yards away, knocking most of a house down before it stopped. If you want a definition of what 2,000 pounds of explosive is going to do, rather than just the homes going down, that one is really telling. For this engine in this truck traveled 1.5 times the length of Agawam Park and landed in a home. And their actions that day saved 150 Marine and Iraqi lives. Also from General Kelly's speech, it turns out that there was actual video of the attack that actually survived. And he talks about it here. For about 2 seconds more, the recording shows the Marines' weapons firing nonstop. The truck's windshield exploding into shards of glass as their rounds take it apart and tore into the body of the SOB who was trying to get past them to kill their brothers, American Iraqi, bedded down in their barracks, totally unaware of the fact that their lives at that moment depended entirely on 2 Marines standing their ground. If they had been aware, they would have known that they were safe because 2 Marines stood between them and a crazed suicide bomber. The recording shows the truck careening to a stop immediately in front of the 2 Marines. In all of the instantaneous violence, Yale and Herder never hesitated. By all reports and by the recording, they never stepped back. They never even started to step aside. They never even shifted their weight. With their feet spread shoulder width apart, they leaned into the danger, firing as fast as they could work their weapons. They had only 1 second left to live. The truck explodes. The camera goes blank. 2 young men go to their God. Not enough time to think about their families, their country, their flag, or about their lives or their deaths, but more than enough time for 2 very brave young men to do their duty into eternity. That is the kind of people who are on watch all over the world tonight for you and I. Joanne Lyles started a scholarship fund that honors her son, and that is why she was there, to receive a check from Long Island Abate. The commander of the Suffolk County VFW and a ladies' auxiliary also received checks. Each year, the Long Island Abate holds a ceremony at the Veterans Memorial in Hauppauge, and this year, the names of the 56 Long Island soldiers who have died during the War on Terror were read one by one with a bell toll for each soldier. Mike Ossip, who presented the checks to all of us, showed us a video of that presentation, and it was moving to say the least. So I'm constantly learning of new people and new organizations that are doing something for our veterans. Most, like Operation Veronica, do their work under the radar. Quite amazing people who simply love our country and think it important to show their support for our servicemen and women. So we left the meeting room and we exited through the bar, which was quite filled with veterans hanging out and sharing time with friends. They were the kind of guys and gals that you would meet at any VFW or American Legion Hall across the country. I would like to describe them as good people. They served and now they live their lives with all the ups and downs that we all encounter along life's way. And whether military or not, the vast majority of American citizens throughout our history have done their best to preserve our freedom and our way of life, always striving to create a more perfect union. It was a good night in that VFW post with very good people. Thank you. We will now have a musical selection by Mike Tartaglia and the Southampton High School Choir.
We sailed from distant shores across the sea. Found a mighty country with liberty and speed. But we live in the land of the free. Let freedom ring for America, our country great and strong. United as one we shall stand. But all have found new lives along the way. We are all in again to see the brighter light. As we reach for our dreams every day, let freedom ring for America, our country great and strong. United as one we shall stand.
Thank you, Jim and choir. Thank you very, very much. Earlier, I said the fire department was here. I believe that I aired. It's actually, I think, members of the Southampton Village's police force. Is that correct? So we thank you for your service and for coming out today to support our veterans. Appreciate that very, very much. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I'd just like to mention the following, and that is we have a special veteran today who celebrated his 95th birthday just 3 days ago. Stremski, Chet, will you stand up, please? His birthday was on November 8th, and he served in the military police in France and Belgium, and spent a heck of a lot of time in Germany, from what I understand, and sure you got some crazy stories of that time in your life, Chet. But thank you, and happy birthday to you. What's that? Yeah, let's sing happy birthday, why don't we? What the heck? We got time. Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chet. Happy birthday to you. So, Nick Krause is our guest speaker today, but I also want to mention Matt Hindra as well, because they're partners in crime. And I would be remiss in not telling you a little bit about Matt as well, because as I mentioned just in my earlier remarks about the number of organizations that are out there doing things for veterans that we're often not even aware of, I only became aware of USA Warrior Stories a few years ago myself, and they're doing such incredible work. They have their backstory, and I'll read a little bit about that, about how they got involved. But at the present time, on their website, which is usawarriorstories.org, right? Warriorstories.org, they have over 100 interviews of veterans from all wars, all time periods on their website, and they are absolutely fascinating. So I also encourage you to go to that website and just listen to a few of the stories. They're just, of course, amazing. One that I will specifically mention is one of a son of our own, and his name is John Holden. And John Holden, on January 17th, will turn 100 years of age. And they had the opportunity to interview John. Unfortunately, John is now in an assisted living facility. Wasn't here to be able to be here today, but he certainly would have been if he had been able to. But his story is fascinating. And I encourage you to check it out, because you'll learn a lot about these people who served during war and actually during peace as well. And so I encourage you. And the nice thing about it, too, is it is not just about the veterans speaking. These guys take the time to include photographs of their service time as well as actual archival video. For example, they had a photograph. John talks about the ship that brought him from the States over to Scotland, and up on the screen comes the actual ship that transported John. So the whole story is told along the way, and it's very well done and very interesting. Anyway, Nick Krause moved to East Hampton after college, eventually becoming a promoter and head concert booker for the Stephen Talk House in Amagansett. And while working at the Talk House, Nick read about an injured Marine from Long Island who lost both his legs. Deeply moved by the story, Nick and some friends decided to host a concert as a fundraiser for this particular veteran and a family. While the concert was not a success, it started a conversation about how civilians could do more for injured veterans coming from Iraq and Afghanistan. With the help of the Stephen Talkhouse staff and friend Chris Carney, they formed a cross-country bicycle event to raise awareness for injured veterans. You may have heard of this. This now internationally recognized and registered public event where civilians and veterans ride together is known as Soldier Ride. Matt Hindra is a documentary filmmaker and editor who owns Color Bar Video Production, a full-service video production located in East Hampton. And Matt's been working with veterans since 2011, when he traveled with a U.S. and U.K. veterans while they cycled across the UK and France for their first international soldiers ride. And these guys, by the way, in the States, ride from the East Coast to the West Coast. In 2014, Nick and Matt produced and directed the documentary Welcome to Soldier Ride, which premiered at the Hamptons International Film Festival and has since screened in theaters around the U.S. and U.K. After each screening, a few veterans usually introduce themselves and say how the film taught them that by talking about their experience with another veteran, they can begin to heal. This got them to thinking that if there was a place where veterans can easily tell their story and listen to others, we may be able to connect people with similar struggles so they know that they are not alone. In 2017, Nick and Matt formed USA Warrior Stories. It is a non-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories online to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedom. USA Warrior Stories currently has recorded over 100 veteran stories, again, that can be viewed on usawarriorstories.org. Please help me welcome Nick Krause.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bill. You summed up everything I was going to say better than I was going to say it. But here I am. Just try and. Can you hear me okay? It's an honor to be here today. Working with veterans has been my passion since 2003, and I've been lucky enough to work with and speak to veterans and for veterans causes all around the United States and other parts of the world. But it's a special honor to be asked to speak here today in Southampton. I was born right down the street at Southampton Hospital, as was my son a couple of years ago, and I'm proud to have grown up on the East End of Long Island. Thanks for having me. Speaking of having me and Southampton Hospital, my mother was obviously with me the day that I was born. Telling you what you know. But when I was a boy, she always said that I was the best. Now, as soon as I got to school, I realized that wasn't exactly true. If you know me, you know it's not true. I wasn't the best in sports, wasn't the best in school, anything really. I wanted to be a baseball player, but I couldn't hit a curveball or a fastball. I wanted to be an astronaut, but I was scared of heights and small spaces. I wanted to be a soldier, but again, scared of heights, small spaces, colorblind, a bit dyslexic. I wasn't sure the candidate you'd want to join the Army or the Marines. Anyway, my point is I never served. But after 9/11, being a civilian, I wanted to find a way to show my support. So I worked on 9/11 fundraisers, concerts, working at the Stephen Talkhouse. Well, as Bill had told you, one of my bartenders heard me venting about slow ticket sales for a show we were producing at the Patchogue Theater for 3 injured veterans that we'd read about getting injured. He suggested that he ride his bicycle across the country to raise money and awareness for injured soldiers and Marines. We had had a few beers, but it seemed like a good idea. So we set up a card table in the lobby of the Patchogue Theater. We collected over $10,000 that night, and we realized now that Chris had to ride across the country because we had $10,000 we didn't know how to give back. The other thing we realized shortly afterwards that it's 3,000 miles if you drive your car across the country, but if you ride your bicycle, you can't go on the main highway. So it's actually another 1,200 miles of riding. So let's call it 4,200 miles. And also that Chris hadn't been on a bicycle since high school. I often say we went across country, but in fact, I was in a van, Chris was riding the bike. But going 15 miles an hour in a van isn't easy either. We started the ride in Montauk, but when we got to Colorado to a place called the Garden of the Gods, we met up with 2 injured veterans, Heath Calhoun and Ryan Kelly, with one leg between them. They rode with us that day, and it changed my life. 3 things happened. The media coverage of them riding with us inspired tens of thousands of people to support the ride. Heath and Ryan found they could do something as simple as riding a bike, which, given their injuries, is not easy. They had to relearn everything, do things differently. It also showed the newly wounded that you can get out there, do the things you used to do, albeit differently. At the end of that ride, finishing California, they joined us again. They said they would like to ride back to New York with us. There was no plan to ride back except on an airplane. But how do you say no to guys like Ryan and Heath? So Chris did. And the next year, leaving from Los Angeles, they rode to Montauk. We were joined by rotating groups of other veterans. It became obvious to us that Soldier Ride wasn't just a fundraising tool, but a great program to get injured veterans out of their hospital beds, to allow the American public a chance to show their appreciation for the great sacrifices our veterans give to allow us to live in the greatest country in the world. Soldier Ride went on to raise millions of dollars for veterans programs, as well as introduce or reintroduce cycling as a great rehabilitative activity to thousands of veterans. So much so that other countries began doing their own Soldier Rides, from England, France, Israel, Australia. When we began this first ride, I brought a video camera that my late uncle had left me, and I figured we'd make a short film out of the trip, beginning in Montauk, middle being Kansas, the end being California. The only problem was that the ride never ended, and I just kept filming stuff. After 10 years, I had a collection of tapes that I labeled very poorly, and I approached my old friend Matt Hindra with these tapes and said, I think we've got a movie here, especially looking at the accomplishments of some of the veterans that we first met 10 years before. So Matt put this movie together. Welcome to Soldier Ride. But one of the things we learned while editing the film was how many great stories we had from other veterans that we couldn't include. We also saw that in the 10 years since I started filming with my huge professional camera was that now everyone owned either a GoPro or a phone that was even better than the huge camera that I'd owned 10 years before. And so USA Warrior Stories began. USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories online to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedom. As Bill had mentioned, we've done over 100 interviews so far, and soon we'll be launching an app to make it possible for veterans, even from the comfort of their own home, to be able to record and upload their own stories. Feelings of isolation, being away from your unit, is something that is often tough for a veteran. Given the circumstances of the pandemic and the lockdowns and distancing we are currently dealing with, we feel no time is better for veterans to embrace a program like USA Warrior Stories. An outlet, a way to communicate. We've been lucky enough the last couple of years to meet such local Southampton men as John Holden, who Bill mentioned earlier, Phil Keith, and many others, and record their stories. One of my favorite things about working with USA Warrior Stories is often an older veteran is accompanied by a family member. After telling us their stories, the family member often chimes in, I can't believe I never knew that you were here or you were there. How come you've told us the same story for 50 years and we never heard those stories? To which the veteran smiles back and says, well, I hadn't thought about it for 50 years. It's, I don't know. Anyway, so back to my mother. When she said I was the best, what she meant was that I should be the best that I could be. And today, I think I am the best that I could be because I've been given the honor, a guy who never served, to address the people here today, the veterans, the men and women who serve this country, the people who run into harm's way as opposed to running away from it, who pledged to defend our country. I've worked supporting veterans since 2003, been on the road crisscrossing the United States for 17 years now. People thank me. I'm embarrassed by that. 17 years isn't equal to the time it takes for a service member to sign their name on the dotted line to serve our country. They say today is Veterans Day. In my mind, every day is. Thank you.
A little bit more for these guys. Come on, let's, one more. Like I said, it's just amazing at the number of people that are out there and organizations that are doing things that so many of us really are not familiar with. So you got your homework assignment today. I'm giving you all kinds of things to do. Number one is go to the Southampton High School website and listen to the recordings by the students, by the band students. Number two is to go to the USAWarrior.org website and listen to a couple of these stories by these veterans, and they're just amazing. And also, while you're there, welcome to Soldier's Ride. It's a fabulous film, and it really tells the story of this cross-country trip and the veterans that joined them along the way. Just absolutely amazing. So please take note, and there'll be a test at the end of the day. Technology has allowed us to do certain things that we wouldn't ordinarily be able to do. And I would just like to try to play for you. I hope this works out okay. But one of the students who played for Mike on the video was Summer Stelling. And she plays the flute, and she played the Stars and Stripes Forever. And I thought I would play that for you today, and hopefully this will work. Thank you, Summer. A little Boy Scout here, or Cub Scout here, he's moving to the music. That's what I should play it again so we could all get up and dance to that. If that music doesn't get you going, I don't know what does. Anyway, it is my pleasure now to introduce and welcome to the podium the mayor of the Village of Southampton, Mayor Jesse Warren.
Good morning. Before we begin, we'd like to take a moment to thank and recognize our Master of Ceremonies, Bill Jones, Vice Chairman and Captain, U.S. Army of West Point, as well as Commander Bob Grisnick. Without Bill and Mr. Grisnick, today would not be possible. Many July 4th parades would not be possible, and they do a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes to not only support our veterans, but to also support our community. And so on behalf of the Village of Southampton, we recognize you and thank you both. Thank you so much for everything you do. We also wanted to thank our Board of Trustees for coming out today. Deputy Mayor Gina Aresta, Trustees Mark Parrish, Andrew Pilaro, and Joe McLaughlin. Wanted to thank you very much to you guys. We also wanted to thank Valerie DiLorenzo, who performed our national anthem. Valerie, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. As well as Father Constantine of the Greek Orthodox Church of the Hamptons. Thank you, Father C. And as always, it's wonderful to have the Southampton High School Choir out here under the direction of Jim Tartaglia. Thank you, everybody. We have quite the group of studious and diligent high school students that are out here every Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and every holiday supporting the community. So it's a real pleasure to see everybody out, and thank you very much. We also wanted to thank and recognize our village deputy clerk, Kathy Sweeney, who's a veteran from the Air Force. Master Sergeant Kathy Sweeney helped put together our program today, so that is here thanks to her as well. So thank you, Master Sergeant Sweeney. Wanted to thank our Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. We see Pack 14 here, so thank you guys. It's a pleasure to see an up-and-coming generation who is serving our community as well, so thank you. And also, of course, thank you to our Southampton Village Police, Southampton Fire Department, and our first responders who also serve our community and do an incredible job making sure that we stay safe every day and throughout a global pandemic that we've been through now since March. And so I wanted to thank and acknowledge you guys as well, so thank you. And also wanted to acknowledge Peter Nikolic, who will be performing later today. And also thank you, Nick Kraus. That was a phenomenal speech there, and We really appreciate how you've been able to pass along memories, generate a oral history for us, and so these stories of service can be passed down from generation to generation. We've had many wars, and our veterans have served in many capacities, and oftentimes in the history books, we'll understand the general themes of conflict, but the specific and more stories of oral history we hope will never be forgotten. So thanks to Nick Krause and your team and your nonprofit organization, you continue to perpetuate oral history, which is invaluable to us, and I'm looking forward to checking out your videos and your work. So it was a great privilege and honor to be with all of our veterans and also with you today for that. We are under extraordinary circumstances Memorial Day, where we had recognized veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice to our country and to our community. And then once again today, this Veterans Day, we're also under extraordinary circumstances, so we appreciate everybody coming out. Every year on this 11th day of November, we're blessed to honor our veterans and to be in the inspiring presence of them. But what is now Veterans Day began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of this 11th month of November, when fighting ceased following the Great War, World War I, known as Armistice Day. And President Woodrow Wilson said 101 years ago that to us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in this country's service and with gratitude for the victory. And we're out here all because 101 years later, we are incredibly gracious and express our gratitude towards our veterans. And so thank you again. Now, Veterans Day, as some of you may or may not know, was actually only first recognized in 1954 under President Dwight Eisenhower, who expanded the scope of Armistice Day. And he had said that Veterans Day proclamation, which stated, in order to ensure proper and widespread observance of this anniversary, all veterans and all veterans organizations and the entire citizenry will wish to join hands in this common purpose. And we're out here today all joining hands in this common purpose of honoring our veterans who deserve every bit that we can give to them. Today, as we've done every year since then, we want to ensure that all veterans right here at home in Southampton and throughout the country, and those who are still serving and actively deployed, receive the recognition that they deserve and to whom all our debts are collectively owed. During a time and year that has been challenging for all of us due to public health insecurity, we can look up to our veterans as a foundation of our community and for providing us the many freedoms that we both cherish and love. Today we're here to honor and recognize those who have served and who have also made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedoms and have shown the highest degree of loyalty to our country and to our community. This is the day out of the year, though it should be every day out of the year, where we stop to give thanks and to celebrate our veterans, which is why it's such a special and sacred day. Now, this year today is also the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II, a war that changed the scope for not just our country and our community, but also the world. Many of us have had parents and grandparents and great-grandparents who served in World War II, and we recognize their memory and their sacrifice. And so, as Nick pointed out, as time goes by, that's a certainty, but we want to make sure that we can cherish the memories of those veterans as we move to different wars, hopefully. Again, we wanted to say thank you to that oral history as we pass it from one generation to the next. And as we celebrate the 75th anniversary of World War II, we again wanted to recognize John Holden, who will turn 100 this January, as well as his wife Bernice. And he could not be with us today, but we wanted to extend a prayer for him and his family. And while our world is very different today than it was just a year ago, it was a pleasure to be in his presence a year ago. It meant a lot to me, also having grandparents that served in World War II. It brought great memories to me, and so I wanted to thank him and all of our veterans who are here today and who were able to be here last year under better circumstances. So, again, really, every veteran who serves us continues to be a hero here locally, and as we progress every day in Southampton, we should do our part to thank our veterans and understand that we're here next to our heroes, both locally and nationally, and appreciate their service. So with that said, I wanted to just take a quick moment to thank a few members who are here today, a few veterans. Marty Gilmartin, who is here every year. Thank you. He served in Vietnam. We also wanted to recognize our former building inspector, John Foster, who served Southampton Village in that capacity and also served in Vietnam. We have Charlie Styler here, who serves on our school board, who's also doing our video recording today. Charlie was a member of our Navy and often does a lot of work for our community and rarely goes noticed, but today we wanted to notice you, Charlie, for all of your service to our community and to our country. And there's a few who are still serving today that are from Southampton and wanted to recognize them. Sergeant Joseph Zito of the U.S. Marine Corps, Airman First Class Christopher Zito of the U.S. Air Force, Sergeant Sophie Reister of the U.S. Army, Petty Officer Second Class Benjamin Reister of the U.S. Navy, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Kelly of the 106th Air Rescue, Ensign James Crimmins of the U.S. Navy, and Private Luke Corrigan of the U.S. Army. Then I also wanted to take a moment to thank and recognize the service this year in particular of the Army Corps of Engineers as we battled COVID-19 right here at home and we're fighting even harder in other parts of the country. We had an Army Corps that worked very hard and very diligently, especially this spring and summer, to convert, build, and retrofit many sites into hospitals. They set up about 1,200 site assessments, constructed over 30 hospital facilities, and created over 15,000 beds to meet the needs of seriously ill patients, in addition to generating mathematical models to predict the spread of the virus. So we've got veterans of all types that have really served our country, and we really wanted to thank them. So on Veterans Day today, we acknowledge the achievements, the sacrifice, and the work of our veterans, and we celebrate them. To all the veterans here, today is your day. Thank you. In conclusion, we acknowledge that we will never be able to repay our veterans for how they have served us. But we can do our best by supporting our veterans to the best and most of our ability. We can volunteer in the array of organizations that are out there, especially the veterans organizations, such as Honor Flight that Bill Jones had mentioned. We can serve our community and volunteer in any way. We can do anything to help the public good, and we can respect all others. We can be compassionate and kind to all members of our community, and by doing so, we could also show our service to our community the same way some of our veterans had made even a greater and more loyal service to our country, and so we thank them all. So today, on behalf of the Village of Southampton and behalf of our Board of Trustees and our community, we say thank you to every veteran who served our community and our country. Your courage, your sacrifice, your commitment to our community is immeasurable. So we say thank you and happy Veterans Day.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I'm very glad that you put names there because we talk about veterans in general so often on these occasions, but to put actual names is really important. It really helps us relate and identify with individual human beings that just happen to have worn the uniform as well. So thank you very much for that, and thank you to the entire Village Board for its constant support and consistent support of all things veterans. We really appreciate that very much. Thank you. Each Veterans Day, we take a couple of moments to recognize those veterans who have passed over the prior year. And we'd like to today recognize Fred Calise, Gordon Smith, and Walter Wise Sr. If we could just take a moment of silence for these three veterans. Thank you. We'll now have two songs, actually, and the first one will be God Bless America. That'll be sung by Isabel Rifo. Did I get that right this year? Tell me. Oh, thank you, thank you. And Lane Yastrzemski singing God Bless America.
Can I touch this? Is she short? No offense. Okay, this will work. This will be just fine.
America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home, home, sweet home.
Ladies, thank you so much. Really terrific. If you knew the backstory of trying to get a choir together during social distancing and actually get the chance to practice, it's not an easy challenge, so we really thank them for the extra effort in making that happen. Now, please help us welcome Pete Nikolic as he sings God Bless the USA.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I'd thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to L.A. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you, defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Would veterans please rise and uncover for our benediction by Father Constantine Lazarakis.
Before I pray, I do want to just say that I was very moved by Nick's presentation and the scouts and everyone, the singing, and just on behalf of all of us and our church in Southampton, thank you to our veterans. Thank you very much. Let us pray to the Lord in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh God, we thank you for allowing us this opportunity to honor our veterans, to reflect upon the blessings, rights, and privileges you have bestowed upon us through their service. Each and every one has laid his or her life on the line, and many have made the ultimate sacrifice. We ask you, dear God, to keep them safe, to make them strong, and to make our gratitude known to them. We ask you to speak wisdom and beneficence to our leaders and world leaders everywhere, granting peace to your world, that we may live freely, pursuing the just and noble objects of your will. We ask you to bless those who are assembled here and to bring blessings to all of our veterans, to remember those who have fallen in the service of our nation, and to bless the United States of America. Amen.
I'd like everyone to join me in a large round of applause for our Master of Ceremonies, Bill Jones. He does a fantastic job every time we have one of these ceremonies. Bill, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And all that's left to say is to say thank you to you all for coming out and supporting us this morning. And have a glorious day. It's beautiful. Thank the good Lord for a beautiful day and no rain, so we were able to get our ceremony in today. So to all of you and to each of us, may God bless America. Thank you all.